You and your students are going to have so much fun playing this PowerPoint Jeopardy game. The theme of this game is direct and indirect object pronouns. Let me show you the categories. There are 6 of them. Tente ta chance, this is the present, présent, pas de négation. La deuxième catégorie, cap ou pas cap, c'est le présent, encore une fois, mais avec la négation. Méli-mélo, le passé composé, pas de négation. C'est parti, c'est le passé composé avec la négation. Allons-y, c'est le futur proche avec et sans la négation. Et enfin, foncez, c'est le présent, passé composé et le futur proche avec et sans la négation. So those are your 6 categories. You can see them here, all 6 categories on the game board. Each category has 5 questions, and your students are going to select the level of difficulty that they want to answer, okay? When they say, for example, méli-mélo pour 400 euros, then they get to choose that. Now, when they choose a question, all you have to do is click on it there on the board, and it will bring you to the question. Je vois Marie, par exemple, je vois Marie tous les jours. So the direct object here is written in red, and they have to replace that with a direct object pronoun. In this game, we're doing direct and indirect object pronouns, really focusing on le, la, les, lui, and leur. So you will not see any me, te, nous, and vous in this particular game, because of course those can be either direct or indirect. So when you're here and you ask the question, the student sees the question, all you have to do is click on go to answer, and that will bring you to the answer. So all of your students can see je la vois tous les jours. This is, of course, is in the present tense with no negation. Now, the way that this game works, it's quite simple, but I have included a very detailed set of teacher instructions for you so that you can know exactly how to run this game, so it will run very smoothly in your classroom. I'm also including a 1-page list of directions for your students so that they can just kind of keep that in their notebook and have it every time you play Jeopardy. Just sort of a simplified version. But basically, when you get started, before you get started, you're going to divide your class up into teams. So one person from each team is going to play at a time. All right, so that person will choose the level of difficulty of the question. That person will see the question. That person will answer the question. Now, what are the rest of your students going to be doing all of this time? Drifting off somewhere, not paying attention? No, because I've also included a student playing card. All right, and the student playing card looks exactly like the game board here. Except there's nothing written in each square. In each square, where you see the euros written there, that's where the students all have to write the answers every time one of these is answered. So I'm going to take you through and show you what all of these look like, so that you can get a real good idea how the game works, what the questions look like, if it's a good fit for your students. Once again, we're starting out in the present tense with no negation. All right. The next section is going to be the present tense with negation. So going to go through and show all of them sort of together, but remember they are divided on the game board. Now, what happens if you happen to get to one of these and you say, oh, my students haven't learned that verb, or, maybe I'd like to write this a different way. That's not a problem. You can edit this PowerPoint Jeopardy game. You can edit the text. Just please don't touch anything else, because you see down here in the right hand corner, you have all of these buttons, and you see here where it says start timer. When you click on those, you have sound effects. And so sound effects, of course, are a lot of fun, and we don't want to mess those up in any way when we start editing. So what might you want to order? Well, nous les avons invités, for example. You see the question was nous avons invité nos amis. So this is one, nous les avons invités It requires agreement on the past participle, making agreement with a preceding direct object or direct object pronoun. Maybe your students haven't learned that rule yet. Maybe you're still just trying to get them used to identifying a direct or indirect object so that they can use the right pronouns. If this is too advanced, then just change the verb. It's not a problem. Just remember, you can change the text and nothing else. I'm going to go through the rest of these a little more quickly. Again, it's just so that you can see what the game looks like. Now, the teacher instructions that I have included are going to make this very, very easy. Make sure that you read over them carefully before you even get started and that all of your students really understand how it works, because at one point you, or actually one of your lucky students, is going to get to a daily double. Now, they don't know where it's hidden on the game board, and don't move it because that's going to mess up everything if you start messing around with anything other than a simple edit of the text. But the daily double, the student who lands on daily double is very lucky because he or she is going to have an opportunity to win some extra points for their team. They're going to have to make a wager before seeing the question. And that's the tricky part because they don't know if they're going to know the answer to the question or not. The daily double, nous n'avons pas compris leurs explications. So they have to, of course, replace leurs explications with les. And that's sometimes hard, at least for my students. As soon as they see leur, they think indirect, indirect. But no, leurs explications is a direct object. So they have to replace it with les. Now, I have used the verb comprendre here because I want my students to remember that they have to make agreement on that past participle with the preceding direct object pronoun. If that's too much for your students, in other words, if you haven't taught them that yet, you can edit the text. All right, so that's the daily double. Let me show you just a few more of the questions, and then you will have seen all of them. And then I'm going to show you the final Jeopardy, because yes, there is a final Jeopardy round. Wouldn't be a good Jeopardy game if it didn't have a final Jeopardy round. You're going to know exactly how this works after reading the teacher instructions. Your students are going to know what to expect. One person from each team is going to represent that team. They get to choose. Oh, you're going to Final Jeopardy. You're good at this. We can tell you studied. However it is that they choose their team member who's going to represent them is fine. But the point is, one person from each team is going to play in this round. They have to make a wager before seeing the question. And once they've seen the question, they cannot change their wagers. So here is the sentence, and they have to replace the words that are highlighted in red with direct or indirect object pronouns. All right, so you can see here we have one indirect object and we have one direct object. Demain, je vais leur expliquer la situation parce qu'aujourd'hui, je ne l'ai pas expliqué clairement. Here again, in the passé composé, I have included a preceding direct object pronoun that happens to be feminine, so the agreement has to be made on expliquer. Change it if your students are not ready for that. Okay, so that's it for this version of the Jeopardy game on indirect and direct object pronouns. I have lots and lots of different grammar themes in my store. Many different grammar topics are covered. I also have a big bundle where you can get all of my Jeopardy games, and that bundle is 50% off. And every time I add a new game to it, it will automatically be yours at no additional cost. Merci beaucoup. À bientôt.